My name is Maude, and I'll be your tour guide for the next hour and 30 minutes. Now, in case of emergency, we do have 2 life rafts at the back, 1 at the front, and for life jackets, you'll find them in the ceiling of the lower deck, as well as the upper deck, and I will be showing you how to put a life jacket on in a moment. Also, I am doing the commentary in French and in English, so I'll ask you to please be patient, and also to not move the chairs around during the cruise, please and thank you. You have a man, that is Samuel de Champlain, a French explorer that came up the river in 1613. He's responsible for most of mapping out of eastern Canada. You can see he's holding an object in his hand that is an astrolabe, a kind of navigation tool used back in the day. It is obvious that Samuel de Champlain knew how to use this object, but the artist who made the statue did not, since he put it upside down in Samuel de Champlain's hand. Go figure, right? If you look on your right, you can see Alexandra Bridge, also known as the Interprovincial Bridge. Past this to the right, you'll see 2 buildings. That is the Museum of Civilization, and it was built back in 1989 by Douglas Cardinal, a Métis. The museum itself is the building on the left, and if you pay close attention between each windows of the museum, you'll see structures that look like paddles. This is actually because the Métis who built the museum wanted to represent the fact that when the Algonquin would be approached by someone, what they would do is they would put their paddles up in the air as a sign of welcome. So they did want to represent that whole idea, and also the roof of the museum is supposed to look like an upside-down canoe. Même ça se peut quasiment pas. On your right, you can find a red brick building with a tall chimney. That is the Kruger Toilet Paper Factory. Sadly, the factory does not offer any visits, but you are pretty lucky because we do have some free samples downstairs in our washroom if you're interested. We're really that nice, that nice. Now, everything you'll find on your right-hand side is Gatineau, Quebec. This region was founded by an American named Philemon Wright back in the 1800s. He first named the region Wrightsville. Later on, it became Hall, and after the amalgamation in 2002, it became the Sector Hall of Gatineau. And as you look on your left, you'll see Ottawa, Ontario. Ottawa was first known as Bytown in the 1820s in honor of Colonel John By. Then in the 1850s, it was renamed Ottawa, which means to trade. And in 1857, it became the capital of Canada. Tout ce qui se retrouve à votre droite est en fait Gatineau, Québec. If you look on your right, you'll see a building that looks like a staircase. That is Phase 3 of Place Portage, and it was built between 1969 and 1971. There are actually 4 phases to Place Portage, and if you combine all of them together, it equals to about 20,000 civil servants that work on a daily basis. Oh, you might have a show, they might be jumping off the cliff. Yes. Now coming up on your right, you'll find Portage Bridge. Past the bridge is where you can find Chaudière Falls. You can't see them that well from here, but at least you'll have an idea where to find them. Alors, si on regarde à notre droite, on retrouve le pont du Portage, et passé celui-ci, il y a les chutes Chaudière. On ne les voit pas très bien, mais vous allez quand même avoir une petite idée où elles sont situées. Ensuite, à la droite, il y a l'île Victoria, où la tribu algonquine célèbre leur culture à travers la nourriture et la danse chaque année. On your right, you can find Victoria Island, where the Algonquin tribe celebrate their culture through food and dance every year. Once you get to the right, you'll see a building with many tiny windows and a bunch of Canadian flags at the front. That is the National Library and Archive of Canada, where you can find 2 copies of each book ever published in Canada or by a Canadian. Alors, à votre droite, plus vers l'arrière du bateau, je suis désolée, on peut retrouver un édifice qui a plusieurs petites fenêtres carrées, ainsi que des drapeaux du Canada à l'avant. Ceci est en fait l'édifice pour la bibliothèque et les archives nationales, où l'on retrouve 2 copies de chaque livre publié au Canada ou par un Canadien. Plus loin à votre droite, à l'horizon, on peut apercevoir une grande pyramide en verre, qui est en fait le musée des Beaux-Arts, où l'on retrouve près de 40 000 œuvres d'art. À la droite du musée, il y a la cathédrale Notre-Dame, qui a été construit entre les années 1841 à 1885. Celle-ci est en fait l'église la plus vieille d'Ottawa. Et si on regarde encore plus loin à la droite de celle-ci, on peut apercevoir un peu comme deux cônes qui sortent à travers les arbres. Ceci est en fait l'emplacement pour l'ambassade des États-Unis. L'ambassade est construite de façon pour ressembler à un sous-marin vu de haut. If you look on your far right, you'll see a big glass pyramid. That is the National Art Gallery, where you can find about 40,000 pieces of art. To the right of that, you can see the Notre Dame Basilica Cathedral, which was built between 1841 and 1885. That is the oldest standing church in Ottawa. Then if you look to the farther right of that, you'll see kind of two cones sticking out. That is the embassy for the United States. The embassy is actually built in a way to look like a submarine from the top point of view. Still to your right, but back closer to us, on the cliff, you'll see a beautiful Gothic-like building. That is the Supreme Court of Canada, and it was established back in 1939, and then 10 years later, it became the highest court of appeal of the country. There are 9 judges that operate at the Supreme Court, and 3 of them absolutely have to be from Quebec. Alors, si on regarde à notre droite sur la colline, on aperçoit un très bel édifice de style gothique. Ceci est en fait la Cour suprême du Canada qui a été établie en 1939 et qui, 10 ans plus tard, est devenue la plus haute cour d'appel au pays. Il y a 9 juges qui opèrent à la Cour suprême et 3 de ceux-ci doivent absolument venir du Québec. Ensuite, passé à la Cour suprême, on peut apercevoir 2 édifices avec un toit vert et une structure brune. Ceux-ci sont les édifices de la justice et de la Confédération. Ils ont été construits entre les années 1927 à 1935. Puis si on regarde en ceci, on retrouve un édifice fait en verre. Ceci est la Banque du Canada. Past the Supreme Court, you'll see 2 buildings with green roof and a brown structure. These are the Justice and Confederation buildings. They were built between 1927 and 1935. Then if you look between those, you'll see a building made out of glass. That is the Bank of Canada. Past the 2 Justice and Confederation buildings, a bit to the left of them, you'll see another glass building with a big silver ball on the roof. This ball is actually a clock, so depending on what time of the day, the ball will move from left to right on top of the building. Alors, si on regarde à notre droite passer les 2 édifices de la Justice et la Confédération, un peu à la gauche de ceux-ci, il y a un autre édifice qui est fait en verre avec une grande sphère argent sur le dessus. Cette sphère-ci est en fait une horloge, donc dépendant le temps de la journée, la sphère va se déplacer de gauche à droite sur le toit de l'édifice. Ensuite, passé ceci, on peut retrouver la colline parlementaire. Le Parlement est divisé en 3 parties, la partie de l'Est, la partie de l'Ouest ainsi que la partie centrale. Malheureusement, on ne voit pas la partie de l'Est de la rivière. Et pour ceux et celles qui se demandent c'est quoi la grande structure blanche à la droite, c'est simplement des rénovations sur la partie de l'Ouest. C'est dans la partie centrale qu'on retrouve le Sénat ainsi que la Chambre des communes. Devant la partie centrale, il y a le grand tour qui est en fait la tour de la paix qui a été construite pour se commémorer les soldats morts lors de la Première Guerre mondiale. En 1916, il y a eu un feu qui a brûlé la partie centrale. Toutefois, un peu de positif dans l'histoire, il y a un des employés de la bibliothèque, qui est l'édifice brun en forme de cône, qui était assez rapide pour fermer les grosses portes en métal et ainsi empêcher la bibliothèque de brûler. If you look on your right, you'll see the Parliament Hill. The Parliament is divided into 3 blocks, the Eastern Bloc, the Western Bloc, and the Center Bloc. We cannot see the Eastern Bloc from the river, and if you're wondering what the tall white structure is on the right, that is only construction on the Western Bloc. It is in the Center Bloc that we find the Senate and the House of Commons. And from the Center Bloc, you'll see a big tower with a clock on it. That is a peace tower, and it's built in remembrance of the lost soldiers of the First World War. In 1916, the Center Block burned down, but luckily enough, one of the workers of the library, which is that brown cone-shaped like building, was quick enough to close the big iron doors and save the library from burning down. Now, past the Parliament Hill, you'll see a beautiful castle-like building known as the Fairmont Chateau Laurier. This hotel was named after the first Francophone Prime Minister of Canada, Saint Wilfrid Laurier. A little history about the hotel is that the manager back in the past, who was Charles Hayes, had decided to go to England to get some furniture. The only problem is that he decided to come back on the Titanic. You can only guess what happened to the poor Charles Hayes, and that did delay the opening of the hotel. Alors, si on regarde à notre droite passer entre le Château-Laurier et la colline parlementaire, on peut retrouver les 8 écluses qui mènent au canal Rideau. Le canal Rideau est environ 24 mètres ou 79 pieds plus haut que la rivière où nous sommes présentement. Cela prend environ 1h30 pour monter ou descendre les écluses et celles-ci ont été construites en des années 1826 à 1832 par le colonel John By ainsi que 4000 ouvriers. Between Château-Laurier and the Parliament Hill, you'll find the 8 locks leading to the canal. The canal is about 24 meters or 79 feet higher than the river we're on right now. It does take about an hour and 30 minutes to go up or down these locks, and the locks were built between 1826 and 1832 by Colonel John By and 4,000 workers. Maintenant, je fais un petit retour pour ceux et celles qui n'avaient pas eu l'occasion de les voir. On your right, you'll find a building with many chimneys and many windows. That is the National Research Council of Canada, where many inventions took place, such as Canadarm1 and 2, the world's fastest laser, the first electronic synthesizer, the first electronic wheelchair, canola, and many more. We can find the main campus in the eastern part of Ottawa. Then if you look past the NRC, you'll find a building with a tall glass pyramid on the roof. That is the Ottawa Old City Hall. Alors, si on regarde à notre droite, on va apercevoir un édifice qui a une pyramide en verre sur le dessus. Ceci est l'ancien hôtel de ville d'Ottawa. Ensuite, passé celle-ci, on va retrouver les chutes Rideau. Pour ceux et celles qui se demandaient l'origine du nom, c'est en fait à cause de Samuel de Champlain, l'homme que j'ai mentionné au début. Lorsque celui-ci avait monté la rivière dans les années 1613, il a aperçu les chutes et s'est exclamé « Oh, regardez ces beaux rideaux !» Nous avons donc nommé les chutes ainsi en son honneur et avec le temps, tout a pris le nom de Rideau, tels que les chutes Rideau, la rivière Rideau, le canal Rideau, le centre Rideau, le Rideau Hall, bref, pas mal tout Rideau. Coming up are the Rideau Falls. Now you may be wondering why everything in Ottawa is called Rideau. It's actually because of Samuel de Champlain, the man I mentioned earlier. Because when he came up the river in 1613, he saw the falls and said in French, "Oh, regardez ces beaux rideaux," which in English means, "Oh, look at these beautiful curtains," curtains being rideau in French. So that is why pretty much everything in Ottawa is called Rideau, such as Rideau Falls, Rideau River, Rideau Canal, Rideau Center, Rideau Hall, Rideau, pretty much everything. And we'll now be getting much closer to the falls, so do not hesitate to go up at the front, take pictures, do whatever you like. All I'm asking is please stay on the boat. And while you'll be doing your things, I will be taking a short break. Alors, nous approchons de plus en plus des chutes Rideau. N'hésitez pas d'aller à l'avant pour prendre des photos et profiter de celle-ci. La seule consigne que je donne, on reste sur le bateau, bien entendu. Et puis maintenant, vous allez faire vos petites affaires. Je prends une courte pause. Merci. Of the trees. That is the entrance to Rideau Hall. It is at Rideau Hall that resides the Governor General David Johnston. The property of Rideau Hall has about 175 rooms, 34 of these being bedrooms. Also, the land is about 88 acres, and the property has a value of about $27 million. Pretty cheap, I know.